Well, Meta just crushed earnings and really has been crushing it as a stock for over a year now. This run is an epic run that is very rare for a mega cap company like Meta. So is it finally time to take some profits and secure that money? I mean, that would be the prudent thing to do, right? And how do you identify massive winners consistently just like this one? Well, I'll actually connect the real life data points to get you the answer to when you take profits on a stock and how to identify huge winners just like this. So this video is actually going to be jammed with a ton of very valuable lessons, a lot of points like that. You guys have been asking for a video kind of like this, so it might be one that you want to save, where we basically go through the journey of identifying a great stock that's significantly undervalued, all the way through what to do with it when it actually has a massive run and they turn into a big winner in the end. And yeah, we'll talk about whether or not I'm going to start taking some profits in Meta or not. Just don't forget to like the video if you like getting videos like this with a ton of value jammed into them. And if you want to achieve financial freedom and retire early, make sure you check out the pinned comment down there for my new channel, where that's all we talk about is financial freedom and retiring early. All right, so let's kind of deconstruct this piece by piece so you can identify a great opportunity like Meta was at the time. So in this case, we got to go back to 2022. And you guys remember that time frame well. Everything was runaway, doom and gloom, disasters coming. Yeah, we just had a little bit of a recession, but the giant, mega recession or whatever the terms were coming. And a stock like Meta was done. It was a bad company. They don't know what they're doing anymore. They don't make any money. It's just terrible. You need to run away from this. This is a dying company. That was the narrative in the market at the time. Basically, terrible market, don't invest, doesn't matter what you invest in. And that was a narrative with Meta at a time, that not only are you trying to buy Meta during a terrible market, it's a bad company. It's not going anywhere. It is dying. It's done. It is over with. So how did I know that that wasn't the case? What exactly tipped me off? What specifically did I look at that told me that wasn't the case at all? So that right there takes us to concept number one, and that is look at the earnings and listen to the calls. You have to understand the news media on YouTube, on TV, doesn't matter where, print, wherever, that is meant to get clicks and people engaged and emotional. It has zero to do with what is actually going on with a company. That is revealed in earnings calls. And earnings calls told me this company was printing cash. As a matter of fact, it was printing so much cash that he could go out there and spend billions quarterly on the metaverse, light the money on fire, which is exactly what was going on, and they still were printing cash despite incredible R&D burns on the metaverse, well above anybody else, billions of dollars more than anybody else. They could do that, but yet they were still showing profitability. They were still printing cash despite him being in the metaverse and lighting cash on fire. A company that can light cash on fire and still have billions of dollars in profits is a great company. Yes, they are mismanaging that money. I would agree with that completely, but it's not like they've mismanaged their money from the start of the company. I know that Mark Zuckerberg and team over there know exactly how to manage their money. They were cash burning significantly, and they self-corrected that, obviously, as we've seen. But at the time, it was a problem with how they were running operationally at the time. It was not a fundamental flaw with the business like everybody else was saying. It was not a dying business either. They were printing cash like crazy. He was just lighting it on fire, unfortunately. So you have to separate the news and the narrative from what is going on in earnings. Earnings calls are what matter. I don't listen to the news. I don't care what any analyst says. I don't care what anybody else on YouTube says. And you can include me in that, guys. You should not be listening to me or anybody else. Do your own work. Listen to those earnings calls, dive those numbers, and then decide what you think is going on with that company. Anything else I can tell you, ignore the news, ignore the media, look at earnings. That right there is how I pushed away all the noise and knew this is a massive opportunity. I need to put as much money as possible to it, which we are listening to and breaking down earnings calls right now. We just did Palantir's last night with my group, where monthly memberships are on sale and they're going away shortly, guys, because we got the course revamp coming and it's going to be massive. It's 3 times the size of the old course. So there's a lot in there. So if you've been interested in the group and you want to try out a monthly membership there before coming into some full time, make sure you check out the pinned comment down there and take advantage of the Valentine's Day sale before they go away. Now, back during that time frame, for those of you guys that don't believe me, it was on my top stocks. Every time I released a video about that, Meta would be on there. It was that big of an opportunity. I was saying it in video after video after video. And of course, I was being called crazy down in the comments and everything else. And that's okay. It's all part of it there. I understand where it was coming from and exactly why people felt that way. And it did feel like we were also, as investors, lighting money on fire. Those of you guys that bought with me or were buying alongside me in my group or wherever the case was, it kind of felt that way a little bit, right? I mean, you think you got a great deal. You're buying Meta under $100. This is utterly ridiculous. And then it falls all the way down into the 80s. I mean, it feels like you're lighting your cash on fire, but I knew it was a great deal and it was something that I absolutely had to share with you guys out here in YouTube land as well. But as always, like what always happens, Meta started to turn it around. I don't know how it didn't turn around earlier than it did, but it finally started turning around because it was at a multiple under 10. Think about that for just a second. You had stocks like McDonald's and Coke up over 30, and you had Meta at a multiple of like 7, 8, 9, somewhere right up in there. For a growth company, not a dividend old man style stock, for a growth company. That right there, I think, is what finally kind of triggered Wall Street and everybody else to kind of snap out of it and go, hey, wait a second, we may have taken this too far. And everybody started piling into it. And we had a huge run up, almost a double up in just a few months. It was incredible. And then everybody started screaming, it's time to take profits. All the charts, it's overbought. It's everything pointed to take profits, take profits, take profits. I mean, Meta did double in just a very, very short time frame. So it seems very, very reasonable to take some money off the table and do that. And heck, the media's saying it, YouTube's now saying it, everybody's saying they're bullish on the stock, but they're saying take profits, so it must be the prudent thing to do, right? Well, actually, I didn't think that was the right call, and I once again put out a few videos right here on the channel that basically say it's not the right time to take profits yet, it's not the right move, and you're going to lose if you do that. And I was able to say that very, very confidently because of the next concept we're going to talk about. And that is valuation is what matters, not the run up. Meta was still crazy undervalued despite that run up. And valuation told me exactly that. I knew it was still stupid undervalued and had a long way to go. So I was putting out the video saying, hey, it's not the right time. It's still stupid undervalued. It's time to buy, not time to sell. And then it actually doubled up again from there once again. And I put out yet another video saying, guys, it's not time. It is still undervalued. And what told me it was undervalued was looking at the valuation. The multiple was still crazy low. Now, not crazy low like 7, 8, 9, not that low, but it was still low, which meant that had more room to run. And more importantly, they started having earnings that were great. All of a sudden, he quit spending so much on the metaverse, actually looked at his business and went, wow, we made a whole bunch of terrible hires. We need to cut a lot of staff because we got a lot of people sitting around making $250,000 doing nothing, which meant I knew earnings were going to get better, which would further push that valuation down, even if it ran, or maybe it just keeps the valuation low as the stock, as the valuation continues to get lower because the company's numbers are moving up, because that net income is moving up, that revenue number's going to increase. You're going to see everything get better from a numbers perspective, which helps keep that valuation number low despite run-ups in the stock. There was a lot of junk to cut out, and as he was cutting it out, it meant we were going to continue to get opportunities with this stock. Now, as the stock continued to run, valuation still told me it was relatively cheap, but it was not stupid cheap anymore. But I continued to hold and I didn't take profits because of concept number 3. And that is, I don't punish my winners. A great company with a great management team that has a great business returns far more over the long run with me absolutely not having to do any work. I don't have to do anything except for sit back and let them execute. If you're going to trade it, the right time to trade was at 120. But I hate to tell you, I don't know too many traders that traded in and out of this stock and made a better return than I have just holding it and doing absolutely nothing except for letting the management team do their job. That is their job. They are far better at it than I am. They're probably far better at it than any of us could trade in and out of it. Clearly, they're better at it than Wall Street trading in and out of it. Those guys are full of supercomputers and Harvard MBAs and, all kinds of big brains and inside information and everything else that they have. They can't beat just letting the management team do what they're supposed to do in the first place. Let me give you an example of why I don't punish winners. I am up over 60,000% on Apple from my initial buys in that stock, simply because I didn't punish my winners after I learned the lesson. I did not punish my winners, and you cannot tell me there's no way you can get a 60,000% return any other way than not punishing your winners. There's no way you're trading that. There's no way any other thing is happening with that. You don't get 60,000+% returns by punishing winners. So what does it finally take to take profits in a stock? Well, for me personally, I need to have one of three things happen in order for me to take profits on a stock. And the first is a fundamental change in the company. Now, I'm talking about a negative fundamental change here, guys. That can be anything from regulation changing that totally changes the business model. It can be a new product being launched by a competitor that there's no way my current company can keep up with. And that truly is the future. And the future isn't 5, 10 years from now. It is now, today. They're selling it and just destroying my company. Things like that are fundamental changes with the company itself. Maybe a management team, key management team leaving, person leaving, think kind of Tesla and Elon. If Elon were to leave that company right now, where it's at currently, I definitely would have second thoughts. I definitely would be considering selling my Tesla stock because he is a key driver and a key part of what the future holds for Tesla, at least at this time. So those to me are fundamental changes in the business that I saw and it happened. I would be forced to actually take profits or sell the stock out completely. Number two, I plan to sell as a trade in the first place. Obviously, if I plan to swing trade there, and let's say my goal was to hit a 30% on there, I'm going to go ahead and take my profits there at that stage and not get greedy with it because that's how you trade. You set up your trade ahead of time. When you make the amount you want to make in terms of the risk reward, in terms of the trade that you had on, I basically set my markers ahead of time. I go ahead and I take my profits at that stage. Maybe I take the profits to where I'm just playing with house money at that stage to see if I get a little bit more of a run up. But in general, at that point, I'm looking to take my profits and move the money elsewhere because I executed that trade. And remember, when I'm trading and when you are trading, you're not looking long term. I'm not looking for a long-term deal. I'm not looking at a company that I want to own long-term. I'm looking for a short-term trade in the stock, and it's important to distinguish that. Number three, it gets caught in a crazy Wall Street bets type of run. And for context right here with Meta, think if Meta were to run up to like 1,000 right now or something like that, not based upon fundamentals, not based upon earnings, but because they get caught up in some sort of a crazy hype or something else like that, to where not only is it I'm all right with great stocks becoming overvalued. That doesn't bother me. I just know they're going to trade flat or down for a period of years after that, which probably means I'm going to get an opportunity to add too. But sometimes the runs can be so utterly ridiculous that you just can't justify it. And you're talking about, wow, that stock's not going to trade flat for a year or two. That stock's going to trade flat for potentially 5, 6, 7, 8 years or so, a long time frame in regards to that. Unless something fundamentally changes to the positive there for them, they're going to trade flat for a really, really long time. So at that stage, I would consider doing that. Thankfully, Meta's probably just too large to ever get caught up in something like that, but you do have smaller stocks that get caught up in things like that. And unfortunately, it forces me out of positions, even though I don't want to, because I just know, wow, I'm not going to see that price for a long, long time, maybe not even ever if the company doesn't execute to that point years down the road. So at that stage, it forces me to take profits and go ahead and pull that money out of the stock. Since none of those three exist in my mind in regards to Meta, I'm just sitting back and maybe the stock takes a breather. That's okay. It doesn't mean I'm wrong or I should have gotten out or anything else like that. I'm not trading. The stock needs breathers in order to go on its future runs in the future. If they have another great quarter next quarter, it's going to go on a great run. Look at Nvidia. Everybody keeps saying it's overvalued, it's overvalued, it's overvalued, and yet every single earnings, they keep resetting that valuation higher and higher and higher. So I think the same exact thing might very well play out with Meta. We don't know because the earnings have not occurred yet, but I'm going to take a wait and see approach with this. I have no reason to sell this stock at this time because you don't get a 10x by trading in and out of the stock. You don't get a 100x by trading in and out, obviously. And of course, you don't get thousands of % returns by trading in and out of great stocks. So I'm just going to hold and see exactly what happens next quarter, because that's where you get those massive gains like that, is by simply holding a stock over the long term. And guys, don't forget about the Valentine's Day sale, where monthly memberships are available for a very limited time and they're going away shortly, where you can see all my buy and sell alerts in real time. You can see my complete watch list with price targets. You can take 5 courses for free, including that new revamp as soon as I launch it. We got tons of exclusive videos in there. You can talk to me, slide in my DMs, jump on our live Q&As, jump on our earnings calls that we're doing live. There are so many different things in here. I'd be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8 figure Discord out there. We got plenty of smart people in there. They're plenty smarter than me, helping everybody out. If you want to be a part of that, make sure you check out the pinned comment and see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.